Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to my special video. It's about my nephews Filip and Ivan. They yesterday participated in a very strong tournament in the U13 in Cirkvenica, and the great thing was that my nephew Filip managed to win the tournament, and my other nephew Ivan, he participated also in the U13, although he's only 11 years old. Finished on the 6th rank, which I think is a great thing. He has still room for improvements. But there was really a great thing about this thing, because Filip, as he won this tournament, he had the opportunity to play in the simultaneous game against the best chess player of all times, Garry Kasparov. And well, maybe some of you won't agree with me that Garry Kasparov is the best chess player of all time, but it's really just my opinion, because you see, Garry Kasparov was the best chess player for 20 years. I think it's a great thing, and you see that, well, my nephew Filip, I'm really proud of him, really caused some trouble against Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov had some problems in the game, and the great thing was that later in the game, after the game finished, Garry Kasparov took some time and analyzed even the game with Filip, which is, I think, not something that you can get from Garry Kasparov just like that, because you have to earn your respect to get your games analyzed by Garry Kasparov, and that's why this accomplishment by Filip is a huge one. So also, the great thing was that in one particular move, when that happens, I'll show you in the continuation of this video. Well, Garry Kasparov really talked about the move like for 6 or 7 minutes, and my brother recorded this very important moment of the game. And after that move, Garry Kasparov went to the organizers and he asked, who is this guy? Who is this little fellow? Why is he playing here? Because he thought that my nephew was that his rating was too high in order to play a simultaneous game. And my nephew answered to Garry Kasparov that he is about 1900 rating, but that's his national rating, and the reason behind this is that you can participate in this simultaneous game against Garry Kasparov if you have a lower rating than 1900. So my nephew has a international rating of 1400. His 1900 rating is the national rating. But it was really a great thing. My brother told me all of the stuff, that Garry Kasparov really asked some questions about my nephew, and it was really a great thing. But the best thing that I noticed while watching these videos, which my brother recorded, is the thing that Filip is really a calm guy. He doesn't get too much of a respect, even not for Garry Kasparov, and that's an important thing in chess, because you're not allowed to get scared by any opponents. And you see in the continuation in the game that they played that Filip made a very nice counter attack with some attacking ideas. So he didn't lean back and just wait. He didn't just wait Garry Kasparov to attack him, and he had some chances in the game. So let's see what happened. Great thing, I think. And here my nephew played with the black pieces. Of course, Garry Kasparov is playing all of the games with the white pieces, and he played the move e4. Now we have c5 by my nephew Filip, knight on f3, and now g6. This is the opening that I teach him, this hyper accelerated rank Sicilian defense, and I've made many videos about this opening. So my nephew is trying to play my opening style here with the move g6, and here Garry Kasparov goes into the c3 line, of course with the preparation to play the move d4. And here Filip played bishop on g7 and Garry d4. We have c takes d4, still common theory, c takes d4. Now Filip has some problems, because Garry Kasparov has already occupied the center, and in how to battle with the center, you have to break the central position. So here Filip played immediately the most aggressive line with the move d5, which is of course the correct move, d6, Okay, it's still common theory, but after knight on c3, well, white has a very nice central control with this knight and this pawn. So that's why d5, the most aggressive way here to play against Gary, really just playing straightforward, very nice move. And now e5, and this is now the problem. It's not a problem, it's just a change of dynamics in the game. So if you see the central position here in the center, like with this move d5, the position is dynamic. So the dynamic game has its own rules, but here after e5 the position gets static. It's not so much dynamics now in this game, and that's why black could have troubles after potential e6 move in order to develop this light square bishop. We could have also some troubles on the c file, because knight on c3, knight on a4, then knight on c5 would be the idea. Bishop on b5, also very annoying stuff to handle here. So that's why Filip played the accurate move, bishop on g5. He wants to get out with his bishop and then close the center with the move e6. The problem is that, of course, you can get also attacked by your opponent with the move bishop on b5. But then the best move is, I think, here knight from b to d7, here to create a defensive system, because you basically as black are avoiding this knight on c3, knight on c6 move, because after bishop takes on c6 we have b takes c6, and again you continuing the game with a backward pawn. Still white has some opportunities to play maybe knight on c3, knight on a4, and then cement the knight on a very powerful square here on c5. So with his backward pawn it would be an annoying game to play, I think, against Garry Kasparov. Here I think he would make huge pressure. Here Garry Kasparov, after bishop on b5, played knight from b to d2. He wants to have a good connection after potential bishop takes on f3 to take with the knight on f3 without doubling the pawns, and here you can then play really freely with your queen on b3, queen on a4, and similar ideas. You then get some doubling pawn threats here by your opponent. So here Filip made, I think, it's now an inaccuracy in the opening, because I think the best way here is now to proceed knight on c6, because after bishop on b5 now we can play rook on c8, and after h3, okay, we take knight on f3, knight takes on f3, but after potential, I don't know, e6, bishop takes on c6, and you see after rook takes on c6, you have solved the problems. You don't have any more this backward pawn. So I think in this position Filip could have used this moment, because Garry Kasparov didn't play immediately this bishop on b5, and here play really the knight on the best square, knight on c6, and here rook on c8. So that's why here after e6, now Garry Kasparov uses this moment immediately. Now you have to play knight from b to d2, and this is really a natural square for the knight. Here after h3 we have bishop takes on f3, and now Garry Kasparov played bishop takes on d7, queen takes on d7, knight takes on f3, and here knight on e7 by Filip. So it's still an equal game. I'm really proud that Filip gets out of the opening very well against the best chess player here in history. Very nice position now to continue. Okay, let's evaluate the position a little bit. White has, of course, the advantage of space here with this move e5. We have a little bit here dark square problems, because the bishop is the key defender of this f6 and h6 move. And but from white's perspective, we have now a target for black. It's the pawn on d4. This pawn on d4 can be sometimes an object of black's attack, of course, with some knight on c6, and then maybe queen on a4 ideas if the position allows it. Rook on c8 is also a common idea to open the c file. And from an endgame perspective, if you could just imagine this position only without the queens, without this knights maybe, and without this rooks on the board, well, white will continue the game with this bishop, because this would be, in these types of variations, the black bishop would be better. because you have all of your pawns here in the center on the dark square, so this dark square bishop would be used then only as a defender of this pawn on d4. But that's just in long terms. Here the position is still going on. Here castling played by Garry Kasparov, and now Filip castles also. So I think it's really a playable position. The evaluation here, the computer evaluation, is this usual advantage for white, so equal position, still some drawing or winning chances for both sides. So bishop on f4 played by Garry, and here I think Filip could have secured the position with the move h6 after potential queen on d2. You can even go king on h7, or even to play the move g5 here, because after bishop on g3 you can play knight on f5. Here after bishop on e3 also, bishop on h2, again f5, and after g5, okay, we can go back, but then maybe try an outpost on f4 or similar ideas, or crack the position with the move f6. So because it's not so easy also for white to attack black's king with only 3 pieces, so Garry Kasparov would have to include some more pieces in the attack. And but here Filip played, instead of h6, he played the move knight on c6, improving the position of the knight and targeting this d4 pawn. Queen on d2 was played, and now f6. This is a great move. I think it's really creating even a more simplified position, and it's suggested by this top engines. I've analyzed this game, and here really this engine suggests this f6 move in order to crack here the space advantage that Garry Kasparov has created on the 5th rank. So you have to battle against your opponent's space advantages, so that's why f6, very, very nice move. And here rook on e1 played by Garry Kasparov, which is of course a great move in order to fix the position around e5 and then leave black with an isolated pawn after potential e takes f6. Then black will continue the game with the move with the weak backward pawn on e6. But still the king is very near to this pawn, and the king can go more central and can be used as a defensive piece in order to defend this e6 pawn. Here f takes e5 was played, and now knight takes on e5, knight takes on e5, bishop takes on e5. So you see now Garry Kasparov is playing now really nice positional play. He wants to play against this backward pawn. This is now the main target from white's perspective. And now here Filip played the move a6, which I a little bit don't like. I like more the move rook from a to c8. You have to bring back the last piece into the game. The rook on c8 is much better, because you immediately are competing on the c file, on the only file that's opened. And here rook on c8, I think it's much better instead of playing a6. But okay, Filip had his ideas to create some kind of space advantage here with the move b5. Bishop takes on g7 was played, king takes on g7, and now rook on e3. Now b5, we have rook from a to e1, and now of course rook on f6 you have to defend here. Rook on c3, you see now Garry Kasparov is playing really actively with his rooks. Rook on c3, and now rook on c8. You see, it would be much better that this rook was already on the c file. It could have competed immediately. Now of course Garry took rook takes on c8, queen takes on c8, and now rook on c1. And this is now where Filip started to play, I think, very nice chess. So he played some 2 or 3 moves like in grandmaster style. Now you have many choices to decide where to go with the queen, and here I like really this move, queen on b8. You can of course go queen on d7, you can go queen on b7, you can go queen on d8. but here really queen on b8, very nice move, because the most important thing about this move that you can play rook on f4 and create at least some kind of a counter attack on this weak d4 pawn. As I mentioned, this d4 pawn is the main weakness in white's position, so that's why here rook on f4 prepared. If you try something like, I don't know, queen on d7 or b7, you always have some troubles, because after queen on a5 there are some, of course, threats to maybe go even rook on c7, but of course it's defendable. But here to have the queen on the same rank as the king is really sometimes dangerous, so that's why here rook on b8 with the preparation to play the move rook on f4 and create a counter attack. So it really Filip creates now some simple threats just in order to keep Garry Kasparov occupied, which is, I think, a great thing. And here after g3, here Filip played a great move. I think it's the move e5. And here I have prepared a video which my brother recorded. As I said, here Garry Kasparov is over 6 minutes after this move e5. So I'm just going to let this video run, because I wanted to see also how much trouble Filip caused in the game against Garry Kasparov. Here Garry Kasparov had to think really much about the position and try to find the best moves. And the funny thing is that after a while that Garry Kasparov talked about the position, he didn't play even the most accurate move. So that's why you see it was really now a liberating move, proving this backward pawn from e6 and e5, now to finally get a free game, an open game. Still you're continuing, of course, with isolated pawn, but it's a pass pawn, so Garry Kasparov will need to also think about this pass pawn. Of course, immediately takes e5, so of course here he takes e5, then of course the queen comes very actively to the game. Still we have covered this c7 square, which is very important. So of course you can also build some kind of attack here on the f file, so I think it will be really equal. So let's see now in this video how Garry Kasparov really talked about this position. He put all of his efforts in order to find the best moves, which I think is a great accomplishment for Filip to really keep best chess player in history busy. So see also his reactions. Okay, really great thing that we have Garry Kasparov here in Croatia. He plays many simultaneous games, which I think is very important for young players to get motivated, because chess can be sometimes really demotivating. It's not something that's really popular. It can bring you sometimes down, and this memory for Filip, I think, show the way. I think after this game he'll try more, he'll try harder to get better chess. So let's see now. Continuation of this video. So you see Garry Kasparov really solved with much next. Here is the real, this is now his position, as I said. Here after the move e5. So this is the position now. Really quite Garry Kasparov thinking carefully.
Evo, tu je definitivno kod Filipa malo zapelo, ali dobro, neka je zapelo, Filip je
Great
cool.
move, I think, e5. Although the evaluation is again slightly better for white, because he'll continue with his isolated pawn, but it's really hard to find best moves in simplified position, so this tiny little things make a difference in the continuation of the game. But I really like this video that my brother has recorded. I watched it many times. The reactions of Garry Kasparov really impressed me. And you think, look at Filip, he's trying to stay cool, like you're not the best chess player of all time. great move, e5. Really liberating move. And here Gary Kasparov played. And he played well. He played not the most accurate move, which is, I think, unbelievable. He played the move queen on c3. But now, now after queen on c3, here I think, pardon me, queen on c3. Here the best move I think for black is to play the move e4, which Filip of course played. He has now very powerful pawn. He has now also supported pawn here, which is a huge difference. Now this pawn made some progress from e6 and then to e5 and then on e4. So now Gary Kasparov tried to play against this backward pawn here on d5, and he played of course queen on c7. So here after queen on c7 and rook takes on c7, now Filip makes, well, this mistake. It's really a mistake, because here you have to play like something like king on h6. King on h6 would be the best move. You have to play something like f4, which is I think an unbelievable thing. If you try something like rook on d7, it will be really an annoying game to play now for white, because you have rook on c6 after rook takes on d5. Here rook on c1 first to check, king on g2, and then rook on c2 with the immediate threat to play the move e3. So that's why white would lose again another tempo. And here after rook on e5 you can simply grab this pawn, rook takes on e4, here grab this pawn, and here rook on a2 would be an interesting continuation, still with the same number of pawns on the board. But we have two connected pass pawns, which is a great thing to have in an endgame, because if you bring the two connected pass pawns on the third rank here, this rook will never catch up with them. So that's why here after rook on c7, Filip made this mistake, rook on f7, and here Gary Kasparov immediately used this moment and played rook on c5. Here Filip now played a very nice counterattack, and this is now the moment in which Gary Kasparov went even to the organizers and he asked some questions about Filip, what's his rating, and he asked also Filip, what's your rating, and my nephew answered with his about 1900 rating, and but he meant this national rating, he didn't meant this international rating. His international rating is about 1400. But my brother, Filip's father, told my nephew that he has to find counterattacks. So when you get attacked in chess, you have to find counterattacks. You cannot just lean back and wait for your opponent to attack you. You have to create at least some kind of threats. And of course, you see there are now some nasty threats here. The threat is of course to play rook takes on f2, and then we can again occupy this second rank and take maybe these two pawns. So here Gary Kasparov played of course f takes e3, and here rook on f3 was played, rook on d5, and here Filip makes this decisive mistake. He took the pawn on g3. Here after king on f2, now Gary Kasparov has this two connected pass pawn situation. Of course you can play rook takes on h3, but white's progress is simply faster. I think white has a winning position here. White's progress is really fast here, because here Gary Kasparov of course immediately played the move e4, e5, then we can occupy the 7th rank, then just push this pawn forward. As I said, it's really hard for a rook to battle against these two connected pass pawns. So here after rook on f3, and here Filip should have taken the pawn on e3, because okay, you're a pawn down. In the possible continuation king on f2, you can play rook on d3, and still you have some chances to make a draw here. You have also now possibilities to play rook on d2 and grab another pawn. So let's see the possible continuation, rook on d7. You can play even king on f6, getting more centralized with the king. After rook takes on h7, maybe rook takes on d4, and again with the threat to play rook on d2. So I think it's a drawish line in which you can really battle for a draw, because rook endings are really hard to win with so many pawns on the board. So that's why this rook on g3 now is the decisive mistake. Here king on f2, rook takes on h3, but Garry Kasparov is simply faster. He plays immediately the move e4. Here rook on h2, king on e3 of course, and now h5, e5, and now again the position gets equal. It's unbelievable. The evaluation is here draw for both sides, so it's move 34. Filip has some drawing chances against Garry Kasparov, but he makes this move h4. Maybe a better move would have been to play rook on h3, trying to create some checks and really annoy this king here a little bit, because you have a little bit cut off the king's path here. The best way for the king would have been to go somehow e4, and then after that d5, and try to hide behind these pawns against some potential check rooks. But here you have an immediate check here, and you can play some perpetual checks. If the king gets away from the defense of this b2 pawns, then you can take some pawns even more and try to make progress with your own pawns. Here immediately with the move h4, now you lost the chance to do that, because now Garry Kasparov uses this moment. Rook on d7, king on f8, and now we have another connection of the pawns here. Now you see white's pawns have made very nice progress on the 5th rank. Here we have h3. Now it's game over, because here d6 was played by Garry. We have king on e8. We have rook on h7, rook on h1, king on f2. We have rook on h2, of course, rook on king on f3. Now no more checks are possible. Here rook on h1, but now after e6 we are threatening here some checkmates. That's why king on f8 had to be played here. Very nice move. d7. Here the rook comes behind, but now you see here we have e7, king on g8, and now rook takes on h3. And as I said, if we connect these two pawns on the 7th or 6th rank, it's basically impossible for this rook to catch with them. Here in this position, Filip resigned. So I wanted to show you also another video how my nephew really deserves respect by Gary Kasparov. Some critical moments of this game. Great.
Bravo.
He did this only to he analyzed only with my nephew.
Nek se potpiše odmah.
And also an autograph Gary Kasparov, and he was also there allowed to take some pictures. You see now there were 2 handshakes between Gary Kasparov and Filip. Great picture. Here you see Gary Kasparov is analyzing this game, which is I think great, because I think it's really hard to impress Gary Kasparov.
Još jednom rokovanje. Bravo Filipe, 2 puta si dobio ruku, baš te briga, aplauzi i čestitke. 2 Ivana, 2 heroja. Evo je, još jedna ruka. 1 Ivanov manje. Ema je ostala još. Ništa, dakle.
You don't have to be scared of them, so you have to play your own games and try to create some counter-attacks like he did, but he missed some drawish opportunities. But I still think it was a great game, because he managed to equalize the position in an early stage of the game. In the continuation he lasted for 44 moves, So if you have seen, Magnus Carlsen was crushing Anish Giri in 23 moves here. My nephew lasted for 44 moves. It's a great thing. Very nice game, Filip, and just continue to work on your chess. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little story. It's not something that I've done before, so it's a different video. It's something else that I did, but it was really to honor my nephew, to honor also Garry Kasparov, because he lives now here in Croatia, and it's a great luck for our Croatians that we have Gary Kasparov here. He plays many simultaneous games, which can also be a very, very motivating thing for you to continue with your game, continue to improve in chess, and to continue to try to find the best openings, some strategies, because I think after this one my nephew will never make this mistakes in the endgame. He will try to improve this endgame skills. So I hope you enjoyed this game, and we'll see you soon with some other videos, with some with some other commented chess games. But now with this Grand Chess Tour in 2019 in Croatia that was taking place, my nephew and I, Filip, and my son and my brother, we had also the opportunity to take some pictures with Magnus Carlsen and the best chess players these days. So we'll follow this very nice tournament, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. See you soon. Chess is the best, of course, guys.